Hey guys, so I wanted to do this video of basically our journey to get pregnant. I've been meaning to do this like forever and I haven't. So I wanted to go ahead and do this for you guys because I think that a lot of people will benefit from hearing this, because I know a lot of girls struggled with, trying to get pregnant and couldn't. So I definitely want to, discuss that with y'all today. So basically, many years ago, before my husband and I had reacquainted, I had gotten pregnant and had went to the doctor, had it confirmed, was basically just trying to pick out like what doctor I wanted to see, and or who I wanted to be my primary doctor. I remember a little while later having like really bad back pains, like to the point where it was just like ridiculous. And I was like, I just want to lay down. And I remember going to the bathroom and there being like blood everywhere, and I just freaked out. I went to the emergency room and they basically did an ultrasound, and they said that I had already passed, everything. Like, there was no need for a D&C. Like, everything just came out. I remember them testing, like, my HCG hormone levels. And then they wanted me to come back, like, the next week. And they wanted to test them again. So I did. And they had lowered tremendously. So then I went on to Women's East, where I saw Dr. Reeves, and she, confirmed that I did, have a miscarriage. And she did kind of, just check me out and make sure everything, and she's like, you're perfectly healthy, you have a tilted uterus, it's tilted backwards, but that will not, obstruct you from having children, and it shouldn't make it any harder. So I was like, okay, that's great, I spent probably that whole entire week, like, laying in bed. A lot of emotions, a lot of hormones, a lot of questions, I guess, because, I wanted to be a mom, but I was very young, and the person that I was with was not the best relationship to be in. So, I felt sad but relieved at the same time, because I felt like God knew, what he was doing. So, I was on birth control. It's actually how I ended up getting pregnant. I was on orthotricycline for about 2 months, and then I went off of the orthotricycline, and we got pregnant like immediately. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna have an issue getting pregnant, so I'm not worried about it, so I went about my life. Like, years and years and years passed, and I was like, when it's time, it's time. I'm not gonna worry with it, really. So I met my husband, we got reacquainted in 2011, and we actually got married the end of that year. And, we didn't use any type of birth control, no pull-out method, nothing. We're just like, we're married. If it happens, it happens. And it was about 2 or 3 years into our marriage, and we're like, dude, shouldn't we've gotten pregnant by now? And I was like, I'm just going to make an appointment with a doctor, because I've always had like a really bad problem with my menstrual cycle. Like, it has been horrible since I was in high school, with like passing out, and just doesn't come on time. So I was like, all right, we got to do something, and find out what's going on. So I went, and they tested me, like, did every test they could test to like make sure there wasn't like anything wrong with me that could be stopping me from getting pregnant. And they did the semen analysis on him, to make sure that his swimmers were swimming. everything came back, it came back negative. Like, there was nothing wrong with me. I remember they said that the mobility of his swimmers was a little slow, but he was a smoker at the time and now has stopped, thank God. So, you know, that could have contributed to that. And basically, it was just, we never knew when I was ovulating because my periods were never regular. And she was like, that's pretty much the brunt of, you know, why it's not as easy for you to get pregnant. Because I can't just, you know, calculate from the days of my period as to when I'm going to ovulate, because it's never, you know, it's never the same, because I never have the same period at the same time. So I was like, okay. Let's see. I saw one doctor. I was supposed to see my original doctor, but she couldn't be there that day. So I saw one doctor to see what we could do about maybe putting me on some kind of fertility medication to try to like help things along, because I was in my later 20s and I was like, I don't want to be 35, 40, you know, pushing out kids. Like, I want to have them now. So she wanted to put me on birth control, and I was like, I don't want to go on birth control. Like, I want to get pregnant now, you know. And anyways, so I ended up, when I was able to see the doctor I was originally supposed to see in my next visit, and she was like, yeah, I'll help you, whatever you need, you know. So she put me on Clomid, 50 milligrams for 2 months. My body reacted wonderfully to the medication. I was producing follicles. Basically, you take the medication, and I think I was taking progesterone with it. It's been such a while ago, I can't really remember. And then you would come in and like have an ultrasound at a certain period of time, and they would check to see if you were producing follicles. So I was producing them. And, but every time I would take the little predictor test, like, they would never come out positive that I was ovulating. So after those 2 months, she decided to bump it up and put me on Clomid for 100 milligrams. So I was on Clomid for 100 milligrams, and it basically, you know, I was producing the follicles, and she's like, I'm going to put you on this trigger shot called Ovidrel, and it's not FDA approved here in the US, so you have to order it from Canada and have it shipped. And she's like, but we can administer it. And I'm like, okay. So I ordered this test, and my dad's like, are you sure? Or the shot. He's like, are you sure you should be doing this? It's not FDA approved. And I'm like, Dad, I want a kid, so I don't care at this point. So I took the shot, and I took it to my doctor, and she gave me the shot, and like, I ovulated within 24 hours. Like, the next morning I took a predictor test. It was positive. I was like, oh, you know, we might be on to something. And then my husband came in, and they basically did an IUI, which is where they artificially inseminate me with his semen. The only issue with it is that the doctor had lost the majority of his semen, like half of it, when she was administering it, because they like put it in through a catheter. So it was, you know, it didn't work out all that great, but we were still hopeful, but nothing came of that. And then we decided that we were going to go on to the next 2 months and do the 150 milligrams, which was insane. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, 150 milligrams, my ovaries were so overstimulated that it was hard to sit, it was hard to walk, it was hard to have sex, to be able to try to have a child. Like, the only way I was comfortable was laying down, and the hormones in taking this medication were ridiculous. Like, it made you depressed, you know, and not only are you depressed because of the medication and the hormones that you're taking, but because every month you're taking, for the 6 months, you're taking a pregnancy test and it comes back negative, you know, so it emotionally does something to you, and you're just like, you know, I was at that point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I'm sorry. I was like, I apologize if I'm not able to provide you children. I was like, you're more than welcome, you know, to leave this marriage and, you know, be with someone who can provide you with children. I was like, but obviously at this point, like, I'm not able to do it, you know? And I had just like I gave up because I was like, it's not meant to be, and I'm not going to be a mom, so I'm just going to get it in my head, and I'm just going to be like, whatever, it's not going to happen. So my husband was like, you're going to have kids, just stop, don't worry about it. And I was like, well, I'm at this point just done. You know, like, I'm not even going to think about it anymore. I'm just going to take a year off, and I'm going to just kind of, you know, just, we're going to let nature take its course and go from there. And he was like, you know, I promise everything will be okay. And I'm like, no. You know, so I was just totally, you know, an emotional wreck. And I was like, I want to, you know, I just want to be off of everything and not do anything, and then we can go from there, you know. And he's like, all right. So I took the year off and I didn't do anything. And I'm going to stop right here. And I'm going to make a second half of this video because this one's already over 10 minutes and it's kind of a long story. So I will go ahead and stop the video now, and then I will I'll do a second half later today so you can see the rest of our journey. Thanks, guys. Bye.